Welcome to the stream.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say you're probably the most copied designer in tech right now, and I'll give credit to your team too. It just feels like
Yep.
the entire industry is just racing to like do what you guys did maybe 2 years ago.
Yep.
But you're
Yeah,
consistently staying out on the edge. So it's great to have you.
right. Got to keep them on their toes.
Yeah, you do. Just keep innovating, and by the time you get copied, they'll just be copying the old thing. I do want to talk about that evolution of the design language. It feels like the cartoon anime style probably came from Palmer. He's a big Sword Art Online fan. Was that the genesis of this? And how do you think about the evolution of kind of the I don't even know what you describe it as, like the brand language, the video
Yeah,
themes, whatever you
The
call it,
brand world.
the brand world.
yeah. I mean, so I actually pitched this about 2 years ago, doing an anime, and
Nice.
like obviously very easy sell to Palmer, right?
Yeah.
But it just wasn't the right time. We didn't have the team that we have now.
Sure.
And it obviously pairs really well with Palmer's identity, right? But
Yeah.
also this anime style for Anduril just made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So if you look at, anime as a medium, historically, it's leaned really heavily into military themes, right? The
Sure.
battles and the really complicated dynamics using like really futuristic machines, like the mecha and the cyberpunk of it all, right?
Yeah.
And like really advanced technology to like defeat adversaries. And man, the future is here. Like Anduril is building it. So of course, like we lean into that.
Yeah.
And like, Anduril, like the way things that we do things, it's fundamentally different, the way we build, how we operate. But part of the way that we do things differently is really the way we approach our communication and our product identity,
Hmm.
the way defense looks and feels. And we just want to cut through the noise, right? The sea of sameness. Like it's really
Yeah.
authentic to who we are.
How has recruiting changed over the last couple years on the design side specifically? There was not, I remember, I imagine now you guys have hundreds of applications for every role. It's sort of normalized, working in defense, but certainly only feels like 5 years ago, it felt like there was this pretty frequent tendency if you were a startup doing
Hmm.
anything defense related, you would get consistently turned down by designers that said like, yeah, like it's just not in my wheelhouse.
Hmm.
But I think that's like changed. I'm curious what your read on it is.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak from my own experience as well, right? I think there comes a point in your career where you want to utilize your skill set and towards a greater mission. I think what we're finding now with all the conflicts around the world, a lot of the designers who are applying are coming to us saying, like, I really want to support and use my creativity to be able to do this, and what an amazing opportunity that somewhere like Anduril is providing that is welcoming these people. And I
Hmm.
want to see that, right? Like the end game for me is seeing all the different disciplines in design coming here and creating all of this work is such a rewarding and unexpected thing for me to witness. And so it's been really incredible.
How did you process the Studio Ghibli moment, specifically in the context you guys came out with the film? Was it Monday or something
Yeah, it
like
was
that? I
right
think it was
around the same
Monday.
time.
But I'm sure you guys have been developing it
Yeah.
way before Studio Ghibli, and it feels like you guys were maybe the last company to get to launch something like this before there will be an inevitable wave of others being able to kind of create versions of
Yeah.
it, but for like 1/100th of the cost. But I'm
Yeah.
curious how you reacted to that.
Yeah, it's
And
so interesting. I mean, like the Ghibli, like look that it's pretty good, I will have to
Hmm.
say, right? It's really good. I'm really impressed. And I think there's just like so many tools out there right now. We launched our first one, Barracuda,
Hmm.
last year. So
yeah.
we were sort of like on this wave. And we also started noticing the trends in the industry too. Like McDonald's did one, the Chargers did one, and we're like, yeah, we must be kind of onto something here. It wasn't until like just recently this boom, and obviously like the Ghibli filter on chat had a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah.
But I think for us, it was really about, again, it made a lot of sense and pushing our skill set in-house too, our toolbox of all the different programs that we're using. And one could argue that all the rendering tools that we've been using for decades now are that was AI, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think here, like we want our autonomy to enable humans to do what humans do best. Palmer says this all the time, and robots to do what they do best. And
Hmm.
I think we've got the best of the best in our in-house, focusing on making the art, and we're
Yeah.
utilizing the tools to do the
Can
dirty
you
work.
walk us through the actual process of making one of these films? Does it start with storyboarding and then you move into Blender or Cinema 4D? I'd love to know kind of like what the team looks like from the motion design perspective to take from an idea to a finished film.
Totally. We certainly use Cinema,
Yeah.
Blender, Redshift for texturing,
Oh, cool.
like Rhino, Keyshot. I mean, the list goes on. Like
Yeah, of course.
everything starts with a mission set, and
Hmm.
as we call it, the concept of operation, ConOp for short. And
Hmm.
our storyboarding is really all about distilling like an incredibly complicated, as you can imagine, technical and operational scenario into a like 1 to 2 minute narrative,
Hmm.
right? That is digestible and is visually provocative for really any audience.
Hmm.
And we do some keyframes to dial in that texture and the lighting, get that right. Then we move into previs pretty
Hmm.
quickly. And that really helps us block in all of that kind of technical authenticity early. We find a rhythm, then we go into production and all like the final paint overs and stuff. And all the designers that are involved in all aspects of the project, they're working together in this process. So we've got art, we've got motion, editing, graphics, music, and sound, right? And we're
Hmm.
also vetting these storyboards with our customers along the way, making sure that we have their feedback. And so, like this entire process, I think for the Maritime short, the most recent one, we went from sketch to final video in like 5 weeks,
Wow,
right?
that's very
Yeah,
Nice.
fast.
it's crazy. I mean, products at Anduril move quickly into production, and like we're just here trying to keep up.
Where has AI been particularly impactful in your guys' process today? I'm sure Anduril doesn't do a lot of vibe coding on the engineering side, just because you need a bit more reliability. You
Yeah.
want to kind of make sure that things work consistently.
Yeah.
But I'm curious where you're seeing an impact today, and where you hope to see kind of more of an impact in the future.
Yeah, I know we're an AI company, but we don't use any AI in our art and certainly nothing generative, right? And
Yeah.
like I said, I think a lot of the tools that we use, right, could be in that AI kind of bucket, like we've been using it for a long time. But I think where I see this being really useful though, and where I want to invest in is really in that previous stage. So,
Hmm.
and it's not just for animation. I mean, for blocking in practical photography and videos as well, like figuring out the composition and the lighting setups, the camera movements. It's just so critical for us to have a watertight shot list whenever we're going into whether it's animation or a video. A lot of the times, like especially on the video side, we have one take to get the shot, right?
Yeah.
And so like kind of building this ahead of time and all of that planning is so important for us. And that's kind of where I'd like us to spend a little bit more time and investment in.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about the workflow now, where even if you're planning to do a 1 day shoot and it's going to be really expensive, there's going to be a big crew, there's going to be, in Anduril's case, like actual hardware involved. You might generate all the core scenes so you can like visualize
Really
it,
see
but
them,
then
yeah.
still
Still shoot them,
actually
of
go
course.
through it. So the shot list just becomes like basically a preview,
Yeah, yeah.
essentially.
Uh, I, I, with AI kind of commoditizing or democratizing certain art styles, do you think that there's maybe alpha or even just like a creative urge to find specific art styles that are incredibly difficult for AI to work with? We were talking about Houdini earlier, and I don't know if you followed like what Man versus Machine did with Nike and the fly knit. It's like this incredible weaving of threads to create the shoe, and it's basically impossible for generative AI to crack that at this point. But it's very different than like the Studio Ghibli style, which is kind of becoming easier and more accessible. Does when AI commoditizes or democratizes a theme, does that push you to go deeper in that area because it's more accessible, or find a different niche to kind of go and explore?
I think it's a different niche. I think, again, like our subject matter is really tied very intentionally to the mission set. It's
Hmm.
hard to prompt things like, we need these machines to talk to each other and come up with a way to do that, come
Hmm.
up with a way to visualize that, right? It could be any number of things. And I think
Hmm.
so, really kind of helping guide that by, using, I think, just the people who are creating this art is probably where we're going to stay and kind of where we're going to lean into even harder.
Is being so technology first in the Anduril organization broadly, is that an acceleration for the motion design team? Because you can just ask an engineer, hey, can you pass me like a CAD file and I'll export it as OBJ and just import it into Cinema 4D and like, boom, I'm good to go. Or because of like ITAR, I imagine that you might have to rebuild these models from scratch. Like, is there anything where you're like, hey, actually we can't use that model over here because it's like, we'd be leaking if it got hacked or something?
Yeah, no, we're definitely not, picking up like the engineering CAD file and dropping it into this, right? Like even for previs, like we definitely, a lot of the designers on our team, like they're very, technically fluent. So a lot of the CAD work that's done, even to get it there, is like about scrubbing it, and it's really like creating, again, turning it into almost a whole new OBJ that's watertight, so you can like texture it and throw lighting on it, right? So there's like ton of work that goes into even setting up the files, and obviously also like make sure that it's not like exactly the thing that we're building.
Yeah. Have you had any explorations using virtual reality in combination with motion design? There's a lot of move towards, we're going to do a lot of motion design in Unreal Engine. I don't know if you've been tracking all of that stuff with the real-time motion graphics, but you can imagine, there's even these demos where you walk around, you sculpt something, then you export that OBJ, and then you're playing with that in Cinema or Houdini. I imagine that Palmer makes it easy to, expense a VR headset if you need one. But what have you played with any of that, and are you optimistic about that going forward?
I mean, like I think like that like Iron Man future is certainly something that I want. There's so many times when like, we're building something, even my past experience, like if I could just reach in there and just like pull that, like I just want to like do it, right? And I think if there was a forum to do so, like it may be in some of our exploratory phases. Like right now we've got designers, we have a whole different pipeline just to kind of do experiments, right? We have an Australian designer, his name's Joel. He's doing some crazy experiments with Blender right now with textures and just like, pushing that to its limit. And like James, who comes from working on movies like Avatar, like, he's trying to like recreate like, worlds and like do world building and like Unity and stuff, right? That's so, really cool. We're like constantly trying to figure out ways to also level up our technical ability to be able to do better discovery, right? Better experiments so that we can like produce better work.
Yeah. Well, since it only takes you 5 weeks to produce these, you're on the clock. We look forward to checking in with you in 4 weeks.
4 weeks
when the next one drops. I think everyone in the audience is very excited when these drop. So thanks so much for coming on the show and breaking it down for us. That was really fascinating.
And thank you for the work you do for the country.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so
Cheers.
much. Bye.